Hello! Very happy to announce it's finally happened. I finally got around to watching the movie version of one of the books that I have reviewed on this channel. And it is Knock at the Cabin Door, based on the book The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I don't remember how long ago I actually read this. It was a while ago. But just to catch you. Oh, and I won't do spoiler. I will do spoilers later, but I'll warn you first. So I will catch you up though. My previous review of this book, if I recall, I was not a fan. I enjoyed the premise. I thought it was a great premise, but the book, I thought was very, surface level, and it didn't have the courage of its convictions. It didn't fully explore the interesting aspects of the concepts that it set up. So it was a really quick read. So, fine for like the beach, but ultimately I wouldn't recommend it, as it's a bit disappointing. Okay. So M. Night Shyamalan, made Knock at the Cabin. And I was excited. Obviously I wasn't super excited because it took me several months to get around to seeing it. Had it got good reviews. I don't always pay attention to reviews, but the reviews that I was seeing, I didn't read any reviews because I didn't want to be spoiled. But just seeing, the tone, the Rotten Tomatoes score, whatever, it was bad. So I'm like, you know what? My hopes aren't high. I'll watch it eventually, but I'm not gonna risk getting COVID to go see it in the theater, So, but I did still kind of hope that it would fix the problems that I had with the book, and maybe even completely change things up. So I was interested, and I'm sad to report that the movie did change things substantially. However, all of those changes just made the movie bad in a different way than the book was bad. Some of the good stuff, I love Dave Bautista. I love him in everything he does. I've yet to see him turn in a performance that did not delight me. And this movie was the same. Like, I wish he had better material to work with, but he was perfectly cast, and I think his acting is phenomenal. The rest of the actors, I think, did a perfectly serviceable job as well. I also liked the look of the film, the colors of it, the moodiness of it, the cinematography, I suppose. I mostly really enjoyed. And that's it. That's what I enjoyed. But to talk about the things that I did not enjoy, I am going to have to just dive right into the spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled by the book or the movie, then stop now, because I'm going to talk about how both of them end, because it's important. Okay. So if you're still here, you don't mind spoilers. Okay. Just making sure. Just in case somebody was listening on their Bluetooth headphones and had to run back to the computer to stop it, whatever. Okay. So in, the plot. The plot is, well, maybe you don't. The concept is that 4 strangers show up at a remote cabin in the woods where a gay couple is on vacation with their adopted Chinese American child, who I don't exactly remember how old she's supposed to be. She's like maybe 5 or 6, I think. And sorry, I'm like flipping through to see. So 4 strangers show up with weapons. They tell them they're not going to kill them, but they're there to prevent the apocalypse. And in order to prevent the apocalypse, they've had these visions that show that this family of 3 will need to make a decision about one of them has to willingly die at the hands of the other 2. And if they don't do that, then a series of disasters will unfold, ending with the apocalypse and, all of humanity being wiped out, except for presumably this family. Although I think that's never really made clear if they would die too in the apocalypse. So, eventually they'd die. Anyway, so the book gets into how one of the guys in the couple is more religious than the other. And so he's a bit more gullible and he buys into what they're saying much more quickly than the other guy. And again, here we go into the spoilers. In the end, so the little girl is in the book, the little girl is accidentally shot and killed, which doesn't count because she has to willingly sacrifice herself at the hands of the other 2. So the couple decides to not kill one of themselves and instead to go forth and face the apocalypse together, if there is going to be an apocalypse. And it ends, with the reader not knowing one way or the other, I think. I probably should have made sure. Yes. Yeah, we will go on. Okay, so I don't mind an ending that is left up to interpretation. I think that can be a great way to draw attention to the fact that the whole story is not about whether or not these people are telling the truth. It's about something else. But the problem with the book is that it doesn't go deep enough to tell us what the other thing, what is the story really about? He hints at it a bit. He gets kind of there, but in my opinion, he doesn't fully explore it. So some of the themes I would have loved to have seen better explored in the book, and then maybe later in a movie adaptation, would be the idea of what kind of God would even do something like this? Is it worth believing in a God like that and doing what they say? Is humanity worth saving? If you are a member of a marginalized group, like 2 gay men in a relationship who have been subjected to a hate crime, is that world worth saving? And I think that's what the author was going for. But again, I just wanted to see way more internal struggle with the men who have to make this decision, So that's what I was hoping for with the movie. And holy shit, the changes that Shyamalan made are so stupid. Okay, so in the movie, the girl survives. Really, and they do decide, the men do decide that the religious one wants to die to save humanity. He wants the other one to kill him, which he does. And so, number one, they send the little girl away. They tell her to go play in her treehouse or whatever while they decide what to do. That negates the entire premise that was set up in both the book and the movie. Actually, maybe more so in the movie. In the movie, they make it explicit that the little girl needs to be there and needs to be a part of the conversation. The whole family needs to be involved in the conversation. She runs away at one point. Dave Bautista goes out and gets her and brings her back specifically because if she runs away, then it doesn't work. She needs to be there. And in the end, she's not there. Okay, so that's stupid thing number one. Pay attention to your own movie. Number two, the happy ending. You could have still made them decide to kill one or the other. It's fine. But what is the point? What makes this interesting? What would make it interesting is if either we don't know if they actually saved the world, or if it all turns out to have been a hoax. Those are the two possibilities that would make it interesting. The final possibility here, and the only one that is not in any way interesting or thought-provoking, is to have them leave the cabin and everyone to reinforce, wow, the apocalypse has ended magically. What could have possibly happened? And then like the knowing glances between the father and daughter, like, we did it. It's like the least interesting ending possible. It's so happy. The guy that chose to die, he really wanted to die. He was so gung-ho. And then they know they did the right thing and they can live the rest of their lives in happiness, knowing that they saved humanity. And like, maybe you could argue that it's interesting because the guy who survives is the one that was the angriest at humanity. Like, there are some, he's the guy who, was really affected by the hate crime, and who he says, he mentions at one point he's seen the worst of humanity and war and stuff. But again, that's not explored at all. It's just sort of thrown out there, and then the plot just keeps chugging along. It's deeply uninteresting. And then finally, the other issue I had was that they don't show any violence. That's an explicit choice. They cut away. The camera cuts away. And, the book is brutally violent. And, what is happening off screen is brutally violent. But cutting away from it does nothing for the plot. If anything, like, we should see it. Like, isn't that more on point for us to see how far these people are willing to go, to see how brutalized this family is, to see how convincing these people are? Wouldn't that be more the point? I don't know. I would have made different decisions. So again, in exactly like the book, we have a great premise, something like really juicy that you could attack from a number of different angles, psychologically, sociologically. There's a lot of places you can go to make this. Like, I would love to see, I don't know, any other thought-provoking director do something with this concept. But this wasn't it. So, movie bad. Book also bad, but better, I guess. And yeah, that's my review of a movie that you probably forgot even came out in the theaters, because that's the sort of content you come here for. Reviews of things months out of date that no one is talking about. There you go.